These are the worst mistakes you can make in any art business. And as you watch me draw this today, I'm gonna shotgun through as many horrible art business practices as I can. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why they don't work. I'm gonna give you advice so that you don't kill your art business, because you really need to stop doing all of these. Now I'm gonna start off really spicy for y'all today. And usually the worst decision that ever comes for any art business actually starts right at the beginning. Follow me here, freelancers, because you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna have a conversation with that client, and then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna agree on an amount, and then they're probably gonna say something effective like, oh, I get paid next week or in 2 weeks or next month. And then you're gonna say, okay, let's go ahead and let's meet up then. Can't wait to work with you. Do you not see what you just did there? You just made a really critical error. You made a really fatal mistake here, y'all. Your client was at their peak interest. Your client was ready to go, and they are super interested in working exactly with you. And that lead was at its hottest. And what did you do? You just left money on the table. One of the worst decisions I see artists make all the time is that they expect a verbal commitment to translate into a monetary commitment. And y'all, this just cannot be the case. And listen, for those of you that are starting work even before getting paid, no, stop doing that. Even if you have a client that can't pay you everything up front, which by the way, should always be your number one priority, try and get 100% payment up front. If you can't do that, hey, can you do 50% up front and 50% upon approval of your sketch? Or at the very least, y'all, do it like this. Get a deposit. If you have somebody that's willing to pay you $100, $150, $500, they can pay $50. They can pay some amount. And here's the thing, it doesn't even exactly matter what the amount is. It needs to be a portion of it. Like I would go for at least 20% of it. That way, they commit to you. That way, it prevents them from wandering. Wouldn't you feel like crap if you gave them the space and the place to go ahead and find another artist who's not as good as you, who's not as cool as you, whose art isn't as good as you, and it's cheaper than you? You would hate that, wouldn't you? But that's what you're letting happen. Anytime that you are letting a client just exit, you're forgetting to close the sale. So one of the best things that you can ever do, y'all, is to make sure that you get a firm commitment. Now, this is also really good for you, by the way, because you need to make sure that you are confident in that sale going through. Because how many times have you been let down? You get your hopes up, you get this promise of a big project, and then it doesn't. Why is that? Because you never had the client commit to you. I'm gonna let y'all know this, the bank of maybe is broke. So most imperatively is that you don't do anything and you don't expect anything to happen until you get money and you wanna try and get something before the client wanders away. That will revolutionize all of your practices right at the get-go. Now I'm gonna guess that you probably don't wanna go to jail for this next one here, and naturally you're gonna think that you need to establish yourself as an art business, right? Is that you need to go ahead and you need to file paperwork with your government, and you need to go ahead and you need to pop up yourself as an LLC, or you need to do whatever the equivalent of that is in your country, because I'm from the United States, I don't know what it is in your country. That is another horrible art mistake, y'all. So what I mean by this is very simple, is that I would ask you just hold off on that, y'all. You don't need to establish yourself as a really concrete art business where you are a business entity until you are making somewhere in the USD range of about $5,000 to $10,000 in my mind. Prior to that is much easier for you, and also just much better for you, to be honest, to just go ahead and, if you're nervous about taxes, to just go ahead and save 20%. Like, why would you want to go ahead and go through all that frustration and pay all that money that you need to do? And it's not like a crap load of money, but it's still some money you got to pay every single year for it, and file taxes differently and all that, just because you made like $250 on your Etsy shop. Does that really make a whole lot of sense? Because it doesn't to me either. So if you think that you need to jump the gun, you need to officialize yourself, you don't. Wait until you have that proof. Wait until you've grown your business to the point where it's unavoidable. This is what happened to me. I just, at the beginning of last year, established myself as an official LLC between everything that I do. And it made sense because it was not going to be something that you could hide. And like I'm gonna tell you about later in this video, how you can also reap the benefits of it, which is another big thing I want you to know about. But no, friend, don't rush into this. It's worthless. Next, let's talk about how you're going to start your business and what you're going to be doing very specifically. So I really want you just to consider the broad landscape of our businesses that you can get into. Whether it is you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna start an Etsy shop, whether you're gonna make prints, whether you are going to be freelancing, whether you wanna start a comic, all of those fantastic ideas. But I wanna let you know this. You really haven't considered every part of that business, and I would really beg you to consider this. Do you think is going to be the worst part in every single one of those businesses? And how are you going to respond to that? Because I just want to let you know this, is that the worst part of every single business is going to be magnified over time. And one of the worst mistakes I see artists make is that they get themselves into an art business that they hate, that they don't enjoy, that it has things that they just can't overlook. And this has to be something that's different for everybody. There's not a single cookie cutter version of, oh, this will work for all artists. No, there are different art businesses in existence right now that you will absolutely not be able to stomach, that you can't stand, that you will hate, and you will loathe the experience of sustaining that throughout your entire life. I don't want that for you, friend. So let's say, for example, that you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel. Well, friend, if you really hate editing videos and you really hate waiting up to a year to get monetized, and you really hate not getting immediate gratification, you're gonna hate it. Similarly, let's say that you really hate going to the post office all the time, and let's say that you really hate having your time wasted packaging things. Well, in that case, I wouldn't start an Etsy shop that necessitated me doing all of those things. Let's say that you're a super busy person. Let's say that you're a parent and you never have weekends available, okay? I would probably not recommend that you have the ambition of going to sell your comic at conventions if you don't have the time for that and you work multiple jobs. Like, it just doesn't make sense for you. Look, if you really hate talking to people and you really hate taking specific art directions, I would very much recommend against freelancing for you. So, my friend, I just beg you to consider this. There's always going to be some sucky part of every single art business, but the worst part is going to be magnified the more entrenched you get into it. So really consider if that's what you want to be doing for the rest of your life, because otherwise I fear you might learn that the hard way. This next one gets me really fired up because I've been working with clients for a really long time. And I just want to ask you this, like, do you want clients to keep coming back to you? Do you want them to get addicted to you in your artwork? Or how would you like them to just avoid you like the plague? Well, I hope it's not the latter of those two options, because I see so many artists actually creating that circumstance. And just to be honest, y'all, it just pisses me off because it's just really foolish mistakes that cause that to happen. And what I'm specifically talking about here is really poor communication habits. Y'all, I am here every single week for you just to show you how to actually be a better freelancer, okay? And one of the things that I just can't stand that I see people do all the time, and I don't understand why this is so prevalent in our community, is why we take such low standards for how to communicate with clients. And listen, it starts from the get-go. I've seen so many bad practices involving like just cold messaging and here, fill up my Google form and don't tell me about your project, just give me money. All of these processes from the beginning suck and you're setting yourself up for absolute failure. And then once you get into working with projects with clients, it's just like, I'll just send an update when I feel like it, or it's inconsistently, it's on a Monday, it's on a Thursday, it's on a Sunday. Like, it's just impossible to follow. You just send your client an update when you feel like it. Y'all, that is terrible. Just imagine this. Imagine that you hired a contractor to come to your house to renovate your kitchen, but they just showed up whenever they felt like it, and they just did work whenever they could do it, whenever they felt like it, and they never communicated that with you. You would be pissed off and you would feel like you got hosed from it, right? Well, that's what you're making your clients feel like. I hope that you've heard this from me before, but if not, let me introduce you to this concept. Clients don't buy your artwork. They buy your experience and they come back for that experience. If you can be a reliable artist, if you can be communicative, if you can give consistent updates, if you can give them a lot of great communication, tell them what are you working on from week to week, or what are you sending them, or when should they expect this, that is gonna set you so far apart from the crowd. Y'all, on this topic, I just wanna let you know this. It is so easy to win and succeed as an artist freelancing nowadays because most artists suck at doing this. And if you want to nail a client and make sure that they are going to keep coming back to you, just do this. If you want to absolutely fail, do against everything that I'm advising you on right now and have terrible communication habits, because it is going to either set you apart in a good light or in an awful light, and it's your choice. How's that? Now, in starting an art business, listen, let's not be shameful about this, but we are in it to make some money. You love your artwork, you love what you want to do, and you want to use that skill set that you have and you've crafted and you've developed over the years, right? And you want to monetize it. No shame in that game, my friend, okay? And in doing that though, I've seen this really critical error made way too many times, and tell me down below if this has been you. But you might have gone into a business that you just thought was going to be lucrative. You might have picked an art business that you looked online and you were like, aha, this says I should do that. This says that I should do this instead. Oh, there's apparently a lot of money into this. My friend, I just want to let you know this. That is a terrible business philosophy, and here's why. If you don't like that, don't do it. This is a fool's errand for you because you are going to resent that so hard. You're going to wake up every single day and hate it. And no amount of money is going to fill that hole. You are always going to have that persistent void of, I wish I was doing this, I wish I was doing that. Y'all hear me out on my personal example for this. I initially started out in doing commissions and I did a lot of sci-fi and mech and near future military stuff. And I liked doing it, but I realized at one point, like, it wasn't my passion. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I kept on wanting to do like witches and wizards and knights and like crazy cool battle scenes. And all of a sudden I was just like, I'm just gonna drop this. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I pivoted, I had nothing in my portfolio for it, and I just took free requests from people online and I started to just take a look at which ones I wanted to do. I cherry picked which ones I wanted to do. I built my portfolio from that, and then I started to get clients from it. So what I wanna let you know is this: if you're currently ingrained into an art business that you hate and you don't actually like doing it, stop it, take some time, pivot, and change it, okay? It is a really bad idea for you to ball and chain yourself to one singular concept or one singular niche or genre or art style or any type of product that you don't love, because inevitably your clients and your customers are going to pick up on that and they're going to go to somebody who actually does have an aligned interest to that. Are you making this mistake right now? I hope not. All right, y'all, I'm gonna get real heated for this one because I see this advice all the time and it drives me crazy. So, have you ever been told how you need to diversify your income? Huh? Yeah, you're thinking like, ooh, I'll get some money over here and money over here. Like if you just got the whole money art tree going, you're like, I'll pick that one and that one and that one and that one. And you're just like, ooh, passive income, buzzword from business. And you're hearing all these people talk about this. Y'all, I gotta let you know this. This is the most worthless trash advice. I'm gonna tell you how to correct this. If you are diversifying your income inappropriately, you are just setting yourself up for absolute failure, because here's what I see a lot of artists do. And usually when I start to work with artists in my mentorship, I notice this a lot as people will be like, well, Sean, I have this business. I want to sell conventions and I want to have an Etsy shop and I want to freelance for art clients. Oh, and I want to go and work at Riot Games. And I'm like, all of those are great, but you need to choose one. And here's what I'm gonna recommend instead, y'all. Typically what you're told is that you just need to like cast this wide net and then you need to get a little from all of them. Y'all, this is a stupid idea, okay? Here's what you should do instead. You need to, and just to make this practical for you, and if you follow any businesses exactly how they started, you need to focus on one thing. Just pick one thing that you really, really like to do, that you don't mind doing, and that you're really super passionate about, and you don't mind working for a while, and just stick with that. That needs to be your springboard, okay? For me, I'm gonna tell you what that is. I started teaching art, okay? This is what I went to school for. This is what I'm employed for. This is what I do in my free time. I teach art. From that, then I started to offer myself to do client work. I started to freelance. Then from there, I also took that and I started my YouTube channel where again, I am teaching art and I'm teaching about freelancing. And then from there, I started my mentorship where again, I'm teaching art and I'm teaching freelance, I'm teaching about the business. So in this system, here's what I wanna offer you instead. It's stupid for you to diversify and expect to get like just loads of money from everywhere. No, friend, you need to start with one and create a cone. You need to create a funnel through which everything cycles back to what is your passion. My passion is making art and teaching it. So everything that I do is based around that. I've never heard this advice given to you before, and I've never heard it come out of anybody's mouth, but I'm gonna tell you it's the most sustainable version from it, because if you wanna try and run 4 businesses, I'm gonna tell you this, you're gonna fail 4 times. Do you want that, or do you want success? Because success will only come if you grow it slow and you start with one thing and then you branch out. Y'all just think about it like this. A tree doesn't grow with 3,000 branches. It starts with one massive trunk and then branches out. Be the tree. Be a sequoia, y'all. This tip right here is going to be the biggest art business killer for you, and you never saw it coming because you forgot to like and subscribe. Y'all make sure that you hit those buttons and everything, because I'm here to help you out every single week. And if this is helping you, please share with somebody that you know so that we can help them too, because I want to help as many artists just like you as possible. And hey, look, maybe you've been trying this for a while and you know this stuff already, but you just can't implement it. And that's where my one-on-one art mentorship comes into play. Listen, this is not a course, it's not a class, it's me and you working one-on-one to accomplish the things that you want to do at the pace you want to do it. I've helped people just like you totally supercharge their art business and be able to achieve everything that they didn't think they'd be able to do for years in a matter of months. And if that sounds like you, then go ahead and check out the link in my description, fill out the form, and I'll reach out to you soon. And to help you out further, make sure you're not doing this. Now, for everybody out here who's going to be an established business entity, you're going to grow yourself to that feat, or you really want to know like what's involved in doing that, this is one of the worst, most critical errors, especially for y'all that have to file taxes with all this. So listen up, come on in for this one, because you're eventually going to get there, okay? You need to really consider everything that you're spending on your business and how you're structuring that into what your day-to-day is, okay? So just for me as an example, I'm a freelancer. I have very little to no expenses. However, though, you do still have some expenses. You're at home, you're using electricity, you have to sustain the house in order to sustain the place where you do your art business. And then I also have to use internet and all that stuff too. Plus, I also have program suites. All of that, if you're not tracking your expenses, you are just going to be handing the government loads of money, and it just doesn't make sense for you because that's money out of your pocket. And also relatedly, this rolls into your write-offs, okay? So like for me, I have an office space. I had to buy a computer this year. I bought some tech this year. I upgraded my office suite a little bit this year. So for all of that, those are all tax write-off. Those are all business expenses. Anything that I get that's either for my freelance business or for my YouTube channel right here, this is a taxable write-off. So these are ways that you can actually spend the money that you get, in which case the government doesn't get as big of a cut from it, and you get to save some money on it. Now, if you have a more complex business, because it's going to depend on your business what I'm talking about, you might need to invest into a program suite or anything, but otherwise, y'all, easy enough. Just use a Google Sheet and just track your expenses month to month, put it into like all of your household expenses, put it into what you actually bought for the business, and especially for y'all that maybe have an Etsy shop or you have deliverables that you have to do, okay? Think about what are you paying out to those and keep track of them, and then you can go ahead and just automate it so that Google Sheets will just go ahead and update it all at the bottom, and you don't have to math it out yourself. It's really easy to do, but I'm gonna tell you this, if you don't do this, then listen, come like January, February next year, or if you're a late person to that party in like April, then you are really gonna be regretting it and you're gonna be scrambling to get all that stuff. So just do it. I'm gonna recommend you do this every single month. It'll take care of all of your headaches, and it's gonna put a lot more money in your pocket. You ever considered that? Now, as you start to get really ingrained into your business and you're focusing on day-to-day and you're maneuvering yourself through projects and clients and uploads and you're making new products and all this stuff, this is when I typically see this error come into play, which is that you're going to be okay with just doing the work, and you're only doing that work, and you're only going to do the work that you're paid for, and money becomes your focus on that. And then inevitably, I just want to let you know you had some major collateral damage here because you have sacrificed yourself. You sacrifice your art. You sacrifice your development. You sacrifice your interest sometimes too if it's misaligned again to what you're doing. And the big thing that I see is that there's a lot of artists that don't grow. And this is where I'm just gonna say, and I'm gonna give you a really hot take right now, is that everybody that's afraid of AI is afraid of it for this reason, is because typically when most artists say that they're afraid of AI, it's typically because they've learned to monetize themselves and their product and their artwork exactly how it presently is. And then AI supposedly is able to do it just as well. But in doing that, I just want to let you know that if you feel that you've capped yourself at any point, then that should be a signal that you can do more and you can do better, and that there is room for improvement there, and there's room for self-discovery that's up in there. So one thing that I've always done with myself is, as I look through my art over the years, I can see developments. And one thing that I'm going to advise you on is this: if you only see your art business as just a product, or you only see it as making things for clients, y'all are just demeaning this really meaningful experience into work. And that's boring and that's lame. And that's probably why you started this business, so that you'd get out of the stupid, dumb business that you were doing just to pay the bills and put food on the table and keep the lights on, right? But you have betrayed that interest in just demeaning it into base labor. I want to advise you on this, please. Hear me out. You cannot remove the art from the artist. Everything that you do, I've learned this the hard way, you need to have agency over everything. You need to have joy in everything that you're making. Even if you're making artwork for somebody else, you need to keep a really personal interest level into how you're doing it, into how you're presenting it, how you're planning it, and how you're executing it, and how you're challenging it. Put a little piece of yourself into everything that you do. I promise you, you will love it for years to come, y'all. There's a reason why you never heard me utter the phrase art burnout out of my mouth. It's because I don't feel that way, because I've engineered ways in which case I don't ever feel that way. If you're interested in learning about that, let me know down below. I have a lot to tell you about Art Block. My friend, I believe that you can do this. I believe that you can sustain this, but you're not going to be able to do it if you are only doing it for the money. But this next one, I want to tell you a little bit of story of when I first started. So when I first began my freelancing journey 10 years ago, more than that by now, and I originally did the same thing you did. And I looked online and I saw what everybody else was doing, and I noticed what they said to do, and I copied exactly what they did. And from that, I learned this hard truth, is that most people are running with rookies. And when you take a look at the art market, you will see that it is oversaturated with people who have no flippant idea what they're doing. And it doesn't matter what platform you are on. It does not matter where you look. You are going to see this all across the board. I would say, if I were to give you a statistic on this, that generally 90% of art entrepreneurs have absolutely no flipping clue what they're doing. All they're doing is they're looking through things that people posted 10, 20 years ago, and they're trying to replicate that. And it didn't work then, and it ain't working now either, okay? And what I typically see is that the people that are promoting all of these practices, these so-called best practices, don't even get much. So I just want to ask you this: have you really considered who you're taking advice from, where you're getting that advice from? Have you vetted it, by the way? Like, the next time you read an article or you watch a YouTube video, I'm gonna advise you on this. Go ahead and look them up. See what they're doing, see what they're able to get. Because I'm just gonna be honest with you, like, how are you gonna sustain yourself, or how are you gonna build best practices when your teacher is only able to get $60 commissions? Like, come on. If you can't even bust out of the pay bracket of somebody who works a day's labor at Chick-fil-A, how in the world are you expected to build a successful art business? Similarly too, like, let's say for example, that you follow somebody who has amazing artwork, but terrible business practices. Y'all, these don't always go hand in hand. You need to vet the source of your information. This is no different than if you were gonna write a report and you never vetted the author of the article that you read, and you're like, oh my God, this person's terrible. I had no idea that they had these thoughts, these affiliations. That could lead to just invalidating your research. It's the same thing with your artwork. I would really critically examine the people and the sources that you're getting your information from, because otherwise, y'all, you're running a losing race with rookies. Because I've always noticed this from the get-go. Most people are failing art, not because they are failures, not because they're doomed to failure or the art market is too saturated or whatever, but it's just because y'all followed failure and you chased it, and then you got it, and then somehow you're disappointed with it. Makes sense to me, doesn't it? How about you? Now, I recently got this question from one of my mentees, and I want to field this from you. And as you're going through your business practices, and as time goes by with it, and hopefully as your customer base starts to grow, you're going to eventually tackle this concern, which is, how do you increase your pricing, or when should you increase your pricing? Have you ever thought about this? I'm going to give you two really great scenarios right now so that you know this, okay? First off, if you're never increasing your pricing, you are leaving loads of money on the table, and you're also abandoning any potential trajectory that's going to be better for you too. You're closing off avenues towards your improvement. And I absolutely have to dismiss this. There's at no point should you ever just keep your pricing exactly what it is, friend. So 2 scenarios in which case it demands you doing this. Number 1 is if you have an increase in demand. So for example, let's just take it if you're a freelancer, okay? If you go from having 1 client a month to now you have 3 clients a month to now you have 5 clients a month, okay? That instantly tells me that you need to increase your pricing. FYI, by the way, if you are handling anywhere near double-digit clients, I want you to double your pricing now because it's silly for you not to. If you have that much demand, that signals that you're probably working a little cheap, which I'm going to advise you on in just a minute here, but you really need to increase your pricing as your demand goes up. Second, if you are noticing a quality difference here. So for example, as I've gone through the years, I've noticed my quality goes up, and this is probably contrary to what you've heard before, but don't price yourself like some minimum wage worker here, okay? I still work the same amount of time. So like, let's say an artwork 4 years ago took me 10 hours to do. I can therefore look at what I can do now, and I realize that I can do a lot more and a lot better quality and a lot faster within those 10 hours. So it's silly for you to price yourself from a labor perspective. It just doesn't make sense. But when you start to notice that you can do more and you can do more faster, and there's a noticeable difference in your artwork, like especially year to year or every 6 months, you should see some type of noticeable improvement in your artwork if you're really dedicating yourself to it. That's when you need to increase your pricing. If you're not increasing your pricing, I'm just gonna tell you this, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're gonna feel like you're just laboring for years, doing the same thing, getting the same amount, and making no progress in your bank account or in your art. What do you think of that? Oh, now this next one might hurt. All right, so are you taking commissions right now? I'm talking to you here. Or are you thinking about wanting to? And one erroneous mindset that I see way too prevalent all the time is that you are going to think that getting commissions is a career, that getting commissions is gonna allow you to leave your job, that getting commissions is going to be what you're gonna be able to put on your Facebook and your LinkedIn as your job. Y'all, I need to let you know this. This is coming from my heart, not to dismay you, but to lead you into what you should be doing. Commissions are not a career. They are just not. You cannot rely on them. They are not something that you will be able to retire with, okay? Basically, commissions should operate like a side hustle. And the reason why I say that is because commissions, as an entire field, they are far too volatile for you to actually depend on. And by the way, I'm speaking to you as somebody right now who has actually been able to get consistent clients for over the last 2 years without really searching for it very often at all. Now, don't feel disparaged, my friend, because here's the reality of it. You should use your commissions wisely like this. You need to build yourself through your commissions and through your portfolio of work that you're doing for clients. You need to build that into how you can get sustainable commercial work. So just think about it like this, like what company might you want to work for? What might you freelance for? Where can you get contract work from? You need to think about that. Like for me, I'm looking into like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast. I'm looking at indie game developers. Like I'm looking in these spaces. I've also done book covers for people. Those are all potential contract work jobs that I've been able to get. And those are the things that I want to do. So in that same vein of thought, you need to think about you doing commissions as not just how to make a quick buck or how to monetize your artwork. If you have a longevity plan for this, it needs to be, okay, how does this project help me build into this commercial work? How will doing a character like this translate in there? And then I'm going to tell you this too. It's a hard one. You gotta learn to say no to some clients on that note too, because if you're always only doing what will just shower you with money, you're honestly just gonna be throwing away your future. I know, tough reality, but I want you to be set up for success, friend, because this should be a stepping stone and not how you sink. Now, riding the brutality train from my last point here, I want to just ask you, how are you measuring yourself and how are you measuring your success? Because the next fatal art business mistake that I see way too many people make and complain about and then say that it didn't work out for them and then they cry about it and then they give up is that they're going to be impatient, okay? I just need to let you know this, y'all, that anything that you do is going to require time. It's going to require very focused effort for a sustained period of time. So can I just give you some of my examples here? So first off, it took me 6 months to find my first commission work. 6 months of just actively looking and trying things, okay? When I started on YouTube, It took me a year and a half to monetize this, and then another 6 months to start to get a consistent payout from YouTube. So here's my key takeaway. You have to be okay with time. And one of the really sad things I've noticed about artists is that we tend to have a really toxic relationship with time. And we act like, and I don't know about y'all, but I don't plan on dying in the next year to 3 years. Do you? Is that on your radar or anything? Anyone have any Death Note premonitions or abilities right now? Because I don't plan on going anywhere for a while. And a lot of us, we tend to make really big decisions over really minor things. And we tend to dump out the second that things get hard, the second that things don't go away, and the second that things are not optimal. And when you don't reach what you want to get in a very short period of time, all of a sudden you get dismayed. And then I also hear people, and I see people all the time too, who don't follow advice they're given, who don't do what they're asked to do, who don't follow good practices. And then they also just aren't consistent. I'm just gonna be honest with you, if you're trying to get freelance work and you're posting once a month, that's why you're not getting anybody. If you barely ever make artwork, that's why you're not getting anybody. If you're horribly inconsistent in your practices, that's why you are failing. And this is typically when artists will use this gem of a statement and they'll be like, well, Sean, it just doesn't work for me. Pause. Let's flip that script. You didn't work for it, not it didn't work for you. I want you to have power and autonomy over everything that you do, because just to be honest, if something doesn't work out for you, you can't blame it. It doesn't care and it's not going to change its mind. But you can change your habits and you can change your efforts and you can change your mindset and you can change what you are doing in that pursuit and you can change your approach to it. If you can't do anything about it, how are you ever going to change it or reap the benefits from it, my friend? You got to be patient. You got to stick this thing out and you got to just be in it 100% and be consistent with it. And I promise you this, that if you tenaciously approach anything and you never stop striving for it, you will get it. I'm proof of that. Everything I've done takes time. And that's okay, because when I started this YouTube channel, I literally thought to myself, I'm gonna be okay with this if this takes 10 years to get to exactly where I want it to. I believe that I will be a 6-figure YouTube at some point. Right now I'm not, but I'm okay with it because I've got you lovely people tuning in, and maybe you wanna share this with somebody that you know and love. That'll help benefit them too. But otherwise, I appreciate you and I want you to appreciate your efforts, and I don't want you to get impatient from it because impatience kills potential. This next art business killer, it shouldn't even be a thing. And it shouldn't be as widely prevalent as it is. And it really puts us all in a terrible bad light. And I'm talking about when you ghost your client. Have you ever done this? I don't understand why this seems to be a part of freelance culture in artists. Let's just rewind this back here. So you spoke to a client, you talked to them about their project, you agreed to the project, and then you took their money, and then you ran with it? What's up with that? Why is that even a thing? Y'all, I just want to let you know this, and this has come from my heart here. I understand that you might be, in fact, not be avoiding the art, but you're really just wrestling with life circumstances. You're wrestling with some things that you can't understand and you are not fully equipped to do. I don't fault you for that. I got a lot of empathy for it, okay? But stop victimizing your clients for it. It is not their problem. You should not feel okay, nor should you be able to overlook the fact that you took advantage of them. And I don't understand why this happens so much to the point where there are so many clients on the internet that are citing that this happens to them. And this is a bad look for us. If you can't fulfill a client's request, you need to give them a refund. Cut and dry. You need to stop in this circumstance, focusing on building an art business, and instead shift to managing yourself, seeking help, maybe some treatment, and getting the help and resources that you need to be an effective human being, and then you can worry about being a business person. How's that sound? Because your faults and follies will invade your art business. So this next topic was spurred on by a recent conversation I had with one of my students. And basically, they and their parents are kind of wrestling with where they should go for school. We had option A, where they were offered a really great scholarship at a school that's far away, but they did not have any program of study for them that was interesting to them, nor would they actually want to go into. And option B was that they go to a more local college that actually had the program of study that they were really passionate about and wanted to pursue, but it was going to cost more money. And one of the things I asked them was, okay, are you just going to school just to get a piece of paper, just for the accomplishment of it? They said, no, I want a job. And I said, okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you want to go ahead? Do you want to pay right now for a 4-year decision, or do you want to pay for a 40-year decision? And by the end of that discussion, they said, okay, I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what I need to tell my parents. And that's where they're going to go with it too. And what this pertains to is how artists tend to make really bad short-term decisions. So when you're making decisions about your business and when you're laboring towards that, here's my advice for you. Make sure that you are looking at how will this decision affect me down the road, not right now. Sometimes you're going to have to work hard. And sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice things. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice some time, and sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of sleep too, okay? And you got to be a big boy, a big girl, and get through that, my friend, okay? So when you make a decision about, should I do this, should I do that? Do I feel like doing this? Do I feel like doing that? One of the things that I often think about is that even when I'm like feeling tired and I think that I'm avoiding something, or I don't feel like doing it, or I'm feeling some level of resistance, we all feel that way, right? As I ask myself this: how is this decision, how is this effort going to improve me and improve my life and improve my business? How is this going to globally impact me? And how will future Sean thank me for this? How will I feel about this in 4 years because I did this? Because I worked harder on that YouTube video, because I worked harder for that client, because I lost 2 hours of sleep that one night just to finish the work, because I went ahead and I sacrificed playing video games for 4 months just to take care of my client load. How is all of that going to globally improve all my life circumstances? And how is that going to make 4 years from now exponentially better than it is right now? Because y'all, you need to really view it like this. Right now, your circumstances are the product of your effort. And if you want that to be better, you gotta focus on, what are you doing right now? What decisions are you making right now to improve that? What labors are you currently going through in order to improve that life? So stop making decisions that will only impact you for the next 4 hours, the next 4 days, the next 4 weeks. Start to look at it in a longer span. How will this affect you in the next 4 years? 14 years, the next 40 years, because that is going to come way faster than you expect, and you're either going to be proud of yourself or you're going to feel the sting of regret. Which one do you want? This next one's real tragic, and it's something that's way too often handled and experienced. I've experienced it my entire life, and I'm sure you have too, but it seems like whenever you start an art business or you start any endeavor towards any artistic future, why is it that everybody comes out of the woodwork and wants to tell you why it's a dumb, stupid, and doomed idea? Why is everybody going to go ahead and trash your idea and say that, oh, it's because it's really hard, or it's impossible, or you're going to live in a cardboard box, you're going to be poor, or AI can do that better than you? And I seem to find this is that whenever you say and commit to this artistic path, the path of actual freedom and self-discovery, like you really are interested in, aren't you? You will find no shortage of dismissing opinions and worthless perspectives. And here's what I want to challenge you on just to consider, my friend, is stop listening to them unless they're living the life that you want. So for me, I started to take a look at everybody in my life, and I was like, okay, my grandfather doesn't think I can do this, thinks it's a bad idea. He's a plumber. What does he know? My mother and father have no idea what they're doing, and they're very unsure of it. Great. Are they artists? No, they're not. The people that I worked with back when I worked at Lowe's home improvement stores, and they would say that it's a bad idea, that I'm never going to get a job as an art teacher, I'm never going to make it as an artist. Joke's on them. They're still there, and I'm here talking to you about this because I've been able to do it. And the thing that I kind of realized, and has been affirmed for me throughout my entire life, is that you have a choice whether or not you want to let those people live in your head. You have a choice whether or not you want to even be around those people. You have a choice whether or not you believe to accept that as truth. Because I'm going to advise you on this. Your truth becomes what you believe. If you believe that they're right, you're going to make sure that you sabotage yourself all the way to yourself being right about that. Or you are going to make every effort to prove them wrong. You're going to make every single conscious decision that is going to be in opposition to them. And I'm just going to lay this one out there for you too, friend. Maybe if it's even somebody close that you do love, okay? Maybe if it's your friend group or your spouse or your loved ones, and they don't fully support, don't fully agree with you. It is not their job to just lather you with love and support and undying, just unwavering support for everything that you're doing. But it's your job to give them a reason to. if you're not laboring for that love, if you are not actively taking a participatory stance in building the future that you want, you're proving them right. Or what if you prove them wrong? Now, let me ask you, how do you feel about what you're currently getting? Like those of you that have an art business, maybe you sell something or you take prints, you have a YouTube channel, or you're working with clients, how do you feel about what you're currently getting? Typically when I work with people one-on-one, I ask them this question, okay, what are you currently making and what do you desire to make? Like this is your current price, what's your wish price going to be? And there's always a disparity between them. And typically people tell me their current price tag with some level of shame to them. And I just wanna let you know this, is that I really don't think you should feel that way, and here's why. Even if you're not making what you want, like for example, I first started out doing art commissions at $35. I know, horrible. I would never advise in this way, ever. And if you're doing that low, like stop. $50 minimum. If you're seasoned, $100 or nothing. One of the things I want to just let you know is that if you're waiting to hit that desired goal, that amount of sales or the money that you want or the amount of clients that you want or the amount of business that you want, you cannot delay your happiness until that happens. What I'm going to advise you on in the next Art Business Killer is that you need to celebrate your wins. You need to make sure that you validate yourself each time. One of the things that I typically do whenever I work with people is that I tell them that after their first 2 clients, you've gained something that's worth far more than money. You gained validation. You proved yourself right. You disproved all of your doubts. All of your doubts that said that there's nobody out there that will buy my stuff. People won't like me. People won't pay for it. There's no art clients, so on and so forth. You proved all of that wrong. You have validation. You have proof of purchase right there. There is proof in your pudding. And with that comes, I think, a lot of good confidence building. So one of the things that, even though I wasn't always proud of how much I charged and what I got for it, I was very proud that somebody put their faith into me. I'm going to tell you this, like, whenever I get a client, one of the most important things that I do is like, I literally take a moment after I get that PayPal notification where they deposit with me. And I just thank them. I'm like, thank you so much. And honestly, like whenever I work with people in my mentorship, and at this point I've worked with people in like over 25 different countries around the world, I get really intensely emotional about it. And I always go through this cycle of just like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm worth it. Like, am I gonna be able to help them? I get a little bit of imposter syndrome. And then I kind of calm myself down and I feel like intense gratitude. And I'm like, thank you for putting your trust into me. And I'm going to serve you at such a high level that you're not even going to expect what I'm going to be able to give you from that. And I think that that's a really necessary mindset, because if you're not celebrating yourself, who the heck is? And what happens if they go away? So y'all, make sure that you always schedule a party of one every single time. You get that first sale, you get that first client, you get any type of proof of purchase that what you're doing is the path, because I believe in you. The next Art Business Killer just comes with you not knowing how to set yourself up. You not knowing exactly what you want, exactly how to do it, and exactly how to sustain yourself and how to sustain your efforts. And in order to do that, I made this easy quick start guide for how to get the best art businesses going from scratch for noobs just like you. So go check it out. And if it helps you, make sure that you share it with somebody that you know. Thanks so much.